All right, let's take a look at math lesson 6.9. It says write each fraction as a sum. So that's important word. That means you need to add a sum of fractions in two different ways. So 3/10, we could write that as 2/10 plus 1/10. That's one way that we could write it. Or we could write it as 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10 is 3/10. So do the rest of these problems where you're trying to get to this fraction in two different ways. And you can pause the video and do that. And then when you're done, restart the video, okay? Now, in this next section, we're adding or subtracting fractions. So 5/8 plus 3/8 is 8/8. When you get a fraction like this, you could also write it as one whole. Okay, 6 should be pretty easy to do. Number 7, you subtract. That shouldn't be a problem. Number 8, there's no problem here. It's just subtracting mixed numbers. This fraction, 7/10, is bigger than 4/10. So you just subtract and you get 3/10, and then you subtract this. You're adding mixed numbers here, no problem. Well, let's see, yes, actually 2/3 plus 1/3, you get 3/3. Now, you know that equals one whole. So what we need to do then is regroup over here, right? 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. So the final answer is just 10. Number 10, you notice that this fraction, 1/6, is smaller than 2/6. So you borrow, right, from the whole number. You write the whole number as a fraction, 6/6. And we use 6 because the denominator is a 6. 1/6 plus 6/6 is 7/6. 7/6 take away 2/6 is 5/6. And then 6 take away 3 is 3. Okay? So I've shown you a situation where when you add, you get a fraction greater than 1. And I've also shown you a situation where when the fraction, if you have to subtract, the fraction is smaller, you need to borrow and subtract, okay? So try these last problems and see how you do. Write your answer as a mixed number or a whole number when possible. So what this is saying, you have 7 times 1/10. That's 1/10 7 times. So 7 times 1/10 is 7/10. Let's try this one. 4 times 2 9ths. That's 2 9ths plus 2 9ths plus 2 9ths plus 2 9ths. Or 2 9ths 4 times. Well, that would be 2, 4, 6, 8 9ths. Or 4 times 2 is 8 9ths. Okay? So the rest of these problems are done in the same way. Go ahead and do those problems. All right, now let's look at the next page. It says write an equation and then solve. So Dimitri rode his bike 32 miles yesterday. He rode 12 4/5 miles before lunch and the rest of the distance after lunch. Here's the question. How far did he ride after lunch? So we know how the total was 32. So he rode 12 4/5 miles before lunch. Then he rode some other distance that we don't know afterwards, okay? Let's call it R for how far did he ride. We know he rode a total of 32 miles altogether. So the question is, how far did he ride? So I've written an equation. I'm going to use inverse operations here. 32 minus 12 and 4/5. Right, we always write the larger number on top. It's no problem that we don't have a fraction here. We still use the same process. We just regroup. So we borrow. We know the denominator is 5, so we're going to use 5/5. 5/5 minus 4/5 is 1/5. 2. 11 take away 2 is 9. 2 take away 1 is 1. You rode 19 and 1/5 miles, and you can write that right there. All right? So I've given you a sample. I'd like you to try to do the rest of them on your own. Remember, read it carefully. Read it several times if you need to. Write an equation, and then solve the problem. It looks like there's a lot of mixed numbers and fractions and things in here. So give it a try. See how you can do, and we'll talk about it in a little bit.